Good morning to all of you. I do hope everybody is both happy, employed, and without the cooties. There'll be some interval breaks here where I ask if anybody has any questions, so just hang on to anything you got until then. So I'm going to bounce forward here, give you a little agenda. Like I said in my preamble, this is some real low-hanging fruit and weird things that come up at different times in the year that we're just going to walk through what all you would need to do to make any of this go. So basically, AP tips. There is nothing better than getting paid from somebody you did work for, especially if they don't give you a check. It's the greatest fun ever. What is a bit tedious is if they don't tell you what they're paying for. So we're going to walk through how to do ACH payments in Plex at a real high level and how to make sure that it punts out an email when you pay people. When you get into the bank account setup of Plex, most of our slides are going to have both Classic and UX, depending on whatever you're dealing with. So when you're in the bank account, you go to payment types. And in the payment types, there's obviously a line for ACH, and then there's an ACH method. Here we have Nacho, which is not good with salsa, doesn't work with cheese, and it's just a basic template that banks accept. There are like 15 of these in Plex. If you ever consider setting this up, it's very advisable to contact your bank first and see which method they want to see. And the original super old school Plex documentation, they use the word testing in all caps like 15 times on this. So you would put this file in and like wire your customer a penny or something to make sure they can get it. I mean, your supplier, not your customer. So once you get past this piece, you go into the actual payment type, link up the bank accounts, and make sure that you have the Remittance Advice flag on. Again, if you don't turn that flag on, there's a high degree of likelihood that you will pay people and they'll have no idea why that's happening. When you move forward on the supplier side setup, in their actual, in their address record, there's a place for an email. This will help drive who gets the email. If you don't put that in there, it becomes a kind of a tedious process. There are some other basic pieces of the supplier setup that have to occur. You've got to name their bank number, their routing, and it has to be exact. You can't put dashes or anything fun in there, emojis, whatever. It's recommended that you put a payment type for that supplier of ACH. So when you're in the AP screen, you can, as you're building a payment run or a check run or whatever.
Do we ask whoever that is to hit their mute button, please? We're getting a lot of feedback from someone's speaker system or something.
Got them. So going forward here, you would basically run your check register off of the payment type of ACH and blast the payment out there. Moving along here, let's see, doink, yeah. It's obviously going to puke out this happy Remittance Advice. And for us, ArcelorMittal was the supplier in question. And this is basically what they would get so they would know what to apply. Super easy. AP. So the past like 90 days, I've been inundated with clients that for some reason have receiving issues, which is odd. In that, this, as you all would know, if you're on Plex or even if you're not on Plex, if you have an integrated AP system, it creates a mess when you're trying to figure out who to pay and why. So super quick to update the status, which is over here. Status table, AP invoice status is a pretty basic table. You can always add a status if you need it. But either way, you would filter down for like a specific status. In our instance, it's hold, hit search. It's going to load up everything that's in that status. You would click this flag and then change status. That would work basically the same way in Classic. There's a little hyperlink you click into, whatever. You'll get all kind of annoying messages about whether or not you really want to do that. And once you say yes, then you can pick a new status and roll on. Here's my personal favorite AP excitement. So obviously, as you're rolling through your month-end close process and all that, unless you have the greatest AP staff on earth and the best suppliers on earth, you're going to have invoices that you haven't matched in a period that you need to close. So invariably, we will go to an optimization project and somebody will grab me by the sleeve off the cuff and go, hey, what do you guys do about that? And you got one of two options. The first one is you can either make a bunch of new invoices to counteract whatever got receipted, which is a terrible idea, or you can use the unpaid invoices and open period screen. So there's a couple of caveats here, and I'm going to make sure I point these out. The first one is, if you use this screen and you don't type received in here, you will basically roll forward all of your AP that's not paid in one period to another. That sounds kind of fun, but it gets a little dicey when you're trying to do an AP reconciliation at the end of the month, because you basically will have changed all the periods on your AP and accrued them. So as a best practice, there's a download button we didn't take a picture of that's right here. Whenever you pick whatever you're going to move forward, I always do what is unmatched, and that is received in our system over a date range and forward. I would download that as a reconciling item to my AP detail, and then change the period and post the entries. In UX, that's going to look obviously slightly bluer, and that change period and post entries is right here, and the export as is going to be, it will take the place of the download button. Let's see here. This right here will make it where in the next period, if this invoice is $51 or whatever, you can go change the amount and everything is fine. Let's see. So I'm going to take a brief break here and go, anybody have any general questions on what I just spoke about?
Hey, Zach, this is Etienne. How are you?
Peachy, how you doing?
Yep, quick question for you. Maybe it's a bit outside this, but regarding accounts payable, is it possible to create flat file that we send to the bank for payments? We're trying to avoid check at this moment, so we're all going ACH. So was just wondering if this is a possibility in Plex.
Yes, and you and I should talk specifically about that. I know for everyone else on the call, this is somebody I know, and I know their configuration, and I have some options for them. So we can definitely have that conversation.
Okay, no problem. Let's take this offline.
Cool. Anybody else? I'm excited to move forward. One other little unusual thing, I'm doing the bulk of this obviously in a PowerPoint. That is because all of the children in the world are at home on the internet, and bouncing around in Plex has kind of gotten slow. So that is one aspect of this. If anybody has a specific Plex question, I could always bang in there and look around. Moving forward here. So mass emailing customer invoices. Pretty basic and handy stuff. The least favorite part of all AR, giving a refund. And then these two points tend to always come together. And it's again where someone goes, hey, what do you guys do when somebody short pays you like $2? We make a bunch of crazy journal entries. And I go, please don't do that. So to mass email somebody, there is contact category setup table. You're going to want to hop in there and add a contact category called billing and flag it with email invoice. Now, in the very, very ancient documentation of Plex, this had to be called billing. I've never tried it where it was not called billing. So I've always set it up that way. There you go. You are more than welcome to give it a whirl. In your contact for your customer, you're going to create our little happy contact here for Artie Anderson, which is obviously super bogus for Artie Autos. And we're going to assign this category of billing to that person and an email. And there you go in Classic UX, super easy. You're going to come to your AR invoice screen, and this will become a reoccurring theme here quick. To do a mass email, you have to go by customer, the status of not printed, hit search, and then this button will start to show up. Here's where this gets a little tweaky. At least once every time I try to do this, I hit the wrong print button, and it prints this grid, which is the most annoying thing in the history of time. So don't do that. Click off all the emails you want to print, hit print invoices. Again, Plex is going to warn you that you're going to do something that you just said you wanted to do. And we're going to move forward. It's going to kick out this kind of set of invoices deal. You're going to hit email. It's going to pull Artie's Autos here, give you a batch of invoices, and let you sling them at him. You can put all sorts of fun, hateful stuff in the email, like you better pay me quick or whatever. And then Artie will obviously get his invoices, and you will have in the communications log evidence that you actually did the email. Slightly different look about how that would work in UX, but it's the same. You're going to load up the customer, say it's not printed, and come here to this print invoices to then get to the same situation. Not a lot of black magic there. The key is going to be in the contact category in the contact. This piece is always exciting, how people are dealing with deposits. So I call it deposit mania. First, you have standard accounts set up. If you don't have Escrow as one of those, find out whoever's in charge of your ERP and kick them in the shin if you're already a Plex user. So discounts taken and Escrow. Remember that for in just a second. Your other way to take a discount or do something other than apply cash directly to a deposit is in the customer, good God, the unapplied codes. So the way you get to the unapplied code is you start a deposit and find the setup button in either one. When you do that, you have the ability to, this is free form, I could have called this anything. We're going to call it write-off. We're going to hit bad debts. And you can have as many of these as you want. They can do all kind of fun stuff. So going forward, I have what is an example of chaos, but it'll work for the prior things. My buddy Artie here is going to pay me. He gave us $10,000 that I'm going to put into escrow because I have no idea what he's paying. He does not have the remittances turned on. Then he did note that he took $5,000 discount, and I need to write off $2,000 of that same invoice. So that's what we got going on here. When I look at what happens in the account activity, I get my $10,000 that we didn't know why we got it. Credit $17K to the AR because that's where my escrow is going, and my write-off on the credit side, and the debits. This is defined in the standard accounts, and that is in my unapplied AR. So the $10,000 escrow is basically either a prepayment or an unapplied amount of money that at the time you took the money, you're not at all sure why they gave it to you. When you put that money in, it's going to create one of two documents. Our system's set up to make an OC. It'll also, with the right setup, would make a credit memo. It's the same thing. You can click into this thing and apply it to the AR, or during your next deposit, you could roll forward and apply it against whatever Artie owns up to when you call them and go, hey man, why'd you give me the money? So everybody's least favorite fund, refunds. It's no fun to give people their money back, and it's especially no fun if you don't know how to do this. So I'm going to zoom in just a shade because I'm old. I have a filter right now where I'm in my AR screen. For us, we filter by credit memo and customer. When you do that and hit search, it's going to come back, obviously, and deliver any credit memos. When I click this button, refund is going to become available. So obviously, I'm going to hit the refund button, and Plex is going to ask a pretty benign sounding question here, which is, do you want to change the status of this invoice? And you go, sure, why not? So when you do that, it immediately negates this credit memo and shoves that over into AP. This is a kind of a worst case scenario situation because, or I guess the best case scenario situation, I struggle with this. This person's never had a refund before, so this customer is not a supplier. I guess it would be worst case if this was common, but you would need to set up a supplier record, tie this person's, tie my AP invoice to that supplier, and then you're off to the races like any other day paying somebody. So take a little brief pause and see if anybody's got any questions there. Winter. All right. It is currently still audit season by some people's measures. It seems almost every year around this time, somebody's auditor gets in the room with them and starts asking them questions about their standard cost system. And invariably, I either end up on the phone with those guys or trying to walk them through what's going on. So we have a couple of things we can do with our cost models as we're rolling them forward from prior year to current year or whatever. If you're totally rolling your cost model or you just want to save and be able to reproduce something. This is especially useful if you have an engineering department that is full of people that will not stop touching your bombs and routings. As a finance person, it's almost maddening. So your first and most basic line of defense is to make a copy of your cost model. So invariably, you would roll into the part cost structure, make your way to the cost model, and in UX, you're going to have the copy button. It's a little easier, more obvious in classic, but either way, you hit copy and it immediately pulls up, you know, what do you want to copy and what do you want to call it? This is free form. no major drama there. So what it's asking here with these little flags is, do you want to copy the basics of how Plex does the calculation in the background? Do you want to copy everything that has a cost that used those basics? And lastly, do you want to copy any manual costs you have applied to this cost model? Well, that's kind of a sneaky one. Most people would say yes on that. But we have a lot of people that have cost models with scrap factors that use a current CRU rate for scrap, or some sort of freight factor or something like that. This would be a valid time to not bring that cost over and then do an upload if you're going from 1 year to the next, or 1 quarter to the next, or whatever that may be. The next piece of this pie is this frozen flag. So when that frozen flag's on, nobody, and I mean nobody, can calculate or recalculate your cost model. The button won't even show up. So you can have some level of protection of your cost model by either, you don't have to do a copy. If you just go into the cost model and hit frozen, it freezes it. And I have no idea why somebody would copy something and make it inactive. I'm sure there's a reason. I'm just not that smart. Your other option, and this is when you know, accountants, we love to hoard data. We like to get spreadsheets of stuff and hide it somewhere where no one can see it. That is exactly what this is. I can basically dump the cost model to an Excel file or whatever a JSON file is. I don't know what that is, but I can do that. I can hang on to it, and I can re-upload it later if I ever needed to compare it to a prior period's inventory and something suddenly was missing, because let's say someone in engineering hit a delete button. So that's what that looks like. Whoa, got finger happy. That's what that looks like in UX. In Classic, you're gonna hit this download button, which is gonna lob you into the cost structure export. You're gonna name the cost model. Obviously, parts are generally used. If you have supply items on your BOM, you'd want to flag that and hit the old export and go to town. Any questions on fun things with costing? All right, I'm running forward. General ledger. So, super exciting here. The other thing I run into constantly is people that make the same journal entry over and over and over again and don't realize that they can make a memorized one. First, it's pretty basic stuff here. I personally like to make the journal entry the first time and hit create memorized. You'd be surprised how many people see that every day and don't use it. When you create the memorized entry, it's basically like any other journal entry. You give it the amount of date range that it's a valid entry, and period range that it's a valid entry, how often it would occur, a description, some accounts, with or without amounts. I'll come back to that in a second. So here's the first giant caveat of this whole deal. Many people, for very logical reasons, want to create a journal entry on the first day of the period, which is great. Unless if you don't have the data change scheduler in your system and you don't have your period scheduled to open and display properly, what invariably happens is the first day of the month will come along and it'll just happen to be on a holiday weekend when everybody's out doing something else other than this, and the system won't open the period and the journal entry won't happen. So I personally would pick almost any other day other than the first day of the month. I like the last day, but hey, that's just me. So that is the one big warning. Many people I see make the best example of using this would be like for payroll, where where an entry is typically pretty huge. We see a lot of people make these recurring entries with no dollar amounts, where they just go key in whatever they need to key in and move on. The other little happy trick here is, if you're the sort of person that doesn't trust the system to do this on its own, even though it will, you can backdate the periods, go to the memorized journal entry screen, and fire the entries off whenever you want them to by clicking a little checkbox and hitting create. And my other and most favorite thing in all of costing, allocations. There is nothing better than trying to explain an allocation to a person that does not want to be the recipient of that allocation, especially if it has to do with some general overhead item. So here are the allocation drivers in Plex. There are a lot of these, and almost nobody has all this data. I think my personal favorite one is budget revenue rolling by cost center. I am just not that guy. Most of the time, we see these set up with percentage, which is very easy. Simple allocation, not a lot of drama here. I'm going to zoom in just a shade, maybe not. Is I'm going to allocate a utility bill. So first things first, I'm going to come in and create an allocation, tell the system, which I'm just going to name it whatever I want to, tell the system what the base of that driver is, and then I'm going to go to the accounts from. So when you were to book your utility expense, in this example, you'd hit this account. This firm account basically tells Plex, hey, look here, and bounce everything that's in this account into that same account. So bear with me here. I have done this where there is a pile of contra accounts in a P&L or whatever, and to me, that is a fiasco. What is much easier is if you get a big fat debit in this account, it makes a big fat credit. So then we come over here and we define the twos. And it's going to go by these percentages, which are in this definition, and blast these cost centers, or these accounts, but for us, it's by cost center in that pro rata fashion. So you're going to credit here, debit there, life's going to be happy. These are pretty handy, and they're easy to set up. The only trick would be at the before you fire the allocation off, you would want to make sure that all of your expenses booked at any given time, so you don't have to like have 3 allocations in the same period and look like a maniac. With that said, any questions today?
Hey, Zach, this is Carol Ann from DART.
What up?
Just want to confirm something with you. When you showed the mass email of invoices, that's PCN per PCN, right?
Check. I have never messed with trying to do that from a corporate cash situation. Not saying it can't be done, just what I'm showing is from the local.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Anybody else?
Hey, Zach. Mike from Principal here. Just want to say thank you for the presentation. I got a question slightly unrelated. I was hoping you and I could chat about like best practices when it comes to cycle counting. That's something that we're really sinking our teeth into. But if it's an offline thing, I'd love to have a couple minutes of your time if possible.
Yeah, for sure. We can definitely lay that out. I think we got your contact. We will reach out to you.
Oh, that'd be fantastic. Hey, thanks so much, guys. This is really nice that you guys set up the Zoom for a lot of people.
Hi,
No
Zach.
problem.
Hi, Zach. This is Phoebe from Belsha. I have a question on mass emailing AR statements to the customer. Can we do that too, the same way as emailing invoices?
Yep. Let me, we would be in the collections menu. Let me get with you and I'll walk you through how to do that.
Sure. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Zach, this is Patty jumping in. Hey, Mike, Mike from Principal, just an FYI, we got somebody meeting with your team tomorrow at 3 o'clock Central to go over cycle counting.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Sharona's ahead of you.
Yeah, she's a couple steps ahead of me. I was like, wow, it's even faster than anything. Thank you so much. I can't wait.
Hey, we aim to please.
Any other excitement? Well, all right. So basically going to wind this up then. Our next session is with Kevin Pope, Wednesday the 29th. He's going to be basically rolling through Vision Plex changes for non-dorks. One of the main things that he should touch is how to check out and check in Vision Plex. One of the many questions we get is, who's got this checked out? That's never fun. Email Jill to reserve a spot to that. Or if you think of anything finance related that any of you that I already sort of know who are on this meeting have questions Plex-wise, if we can do a presentation on it, we will. If we can't, we won't. But we're definitely interested in your ideas. So hurl all those at Jill. We'll make her sift through those. I really appreciate everyone's time here, and definitely for all of you that I haven't met yet, thanks so much for talking with me here. For the rest of you, I still sound like a redneck. I just can't shake it no matter where I move. I hope all of you stay safe and healthy and have a good time. We're going to shove this up on our website if you ever need to hear it again. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Zach.
Zach.